What's up guys, Visual here, but you can call me James, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how you can create a Fortnite themed YouTube banner or Twitter header.
Make a far as I've come, yeah, want me back. I know they want me back. I see.
So guys, as you can see here, this is the banner that we will be creating in this video. This is the final banner. If I open up the PSD, you will see it's a fairly intermediate banner. There's quite a few layers involved to actually create this, and I will be going through step by step with as much detail as possible. If you guys want to make this for a Fortnite YouTuber, you want to make it for yourself, or even use the tips that I show you in this video and use that for future banners, is completely up to you. Before we start with any of the Photoshop stuff, I'm going to recommend two products on my Selfie store that are graphic design related that will definitely help you actually create this banner. The first one is definitely necessary. This is the All You Need Fortnite graphics pack. Now this has a lot of PNGs in it. As you can see, I've used two PNGs here. This one is actually from the pack. I've also used this from the pack and a couple other stuff. So you want to make sure that you have the All You Need graphics pack downloaded, because that's definitely going to help you make the banner itself. A second thing that you will kind of need is optional. I definitely recommend you do have it, but if you obviously don't have the money, it's completely optional. You can try and get the stuff elsewhere. You can try and make your own stuff. It's completely up to you, but if you want to follow the tutorial and you want it to be as simple as possible, I do recommend you download the desired graphics pack. Now this is basically a big PSD file filled with fonts, color corrections, which is the main use of this. I'm going to be using the color corrections, the particles. I'm also going to be using light leaks, possibly, definitely smoke. So make sure you have this graphics pack if you can get it, because it's going to help you. Now, as I explained at the start of the video, you can make this design for a YouTube banner or a Twitter header. Is completely up to you, but I'm going to be doing a banner for this example. So I've got a plain banner template here. If you don't have one of these, I'll try and leave a link to mine in the description down below so you can download it. It's basically just a top of a banner, and then the banner size is there. And if you want the Twitter header dimensions, those are 3000 by 1000 pixels, and that will be for a Twitter header. But anyways, we're going to start off showing you how to make this in the YouTube banner dimensions, so hopefully you guys do go on to enjoy. Okay, so once you have your YouTube banner open and ready, you want to go ahead and go over to Google, and you want to head over to this site. Now I will leave a link to this in the description down below. This is called fnbr.co. This is not sponsored, but they are a really good website for PNGs. As you can see here, if we click on this, we can open image in new tab. There we go. And we can get the full HD image of each outfit. So if you guys want a specific outfit that's not in my graphics pack at all, maybe you want, I don't know, this one of the woman dancing, you can go open image in new tab, and as you can see, you get that in full HD, which is a really nice feature on this website. But first of all, we're going to use it for screenshots. So if you go over to the screenshots tab on their site, you can see that they have 5K resolution images. So these work really well. I believe I used this one for the example, so I'm going to use it again. And as you can see, 5K image, really HD. So I'm going to right click on that, go to copy image, go into Photoshop, press Ctrl V, and we're going to resize this. So if you want to zoom out, press Ctrl minus. As always, press Ctrl T, hold down Shift, and you can actually decrease the size of this to the banner dimensions. Make sure you always hold Shift when you do this, and we're going to move this down a bit. I believe I put the image around about there. You guys can go ahead and even choose a different image if you wish. It's completely up to you. As I said before, there's a fair amount of options on the site. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is add some color corrections to this. I'm just going to go ahead and do this first of all, because it's going to make this image look a whole lot better. So what I'm going to do is head over to my desired graphics pack, and in here there are some color correction folders. As I said, this is optional. If you guys want to get the pack, that will definitely help you, or you can make your own CCs. It's completely up to you. So we're going to open up the CCs folder, and I'm definitely going to use this first one here, so we're going to keep that on 100%. As you can see, that already makes a nice difference to the image. Let's use this second one, but we're going to lower down the opacity, because there's a nice light here in the center, but we want to lower down the opacity because it's a bit too strong. So let's lower that down to around about 14. That looks nice. What about the third one? The third one's nice as well, so let's put that on lower it down a bit. I'm going to say to around 20%, and I normally just check each box just to see what it looks like on the image. This one looks nice, adds a nice lot of saturation, but maybe a bit too much, so I'm going to decrease that down a little bit to around about 13%. And as you can see, the first lot of CCs are now in there, and if I hide this, you can see the difference it makes. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is add some more color corrections. So the ones I'm going to use now are from my Fortnite graphics pack, the free one, and you just want to drag and drop the color corrections folder. You can hide the test image, and you just want to enable each one and test it out to see if it works well. So I'm going to use CC1, lower down the opacity to around about 38. Whatever you think looks good, maybe your image is a little bit different, so you can lower it down to whatever you want. So I think this looks really nice. Okay, so now what you want to do is select your image layer, so whatever your background is, and you want to head over to the adjustments layer down at the bottom. Select gradient map, and you will get a random color. Doesn't matter, you can literally just change it easy. So just select that. That will open up the gradient editor. You want to select the black to white color, and then double click on the white because we want to change this to more of a gray color. So we're going to select something similar to this. I'm going to say something similar to this. I'm going to say let's do this kind of gray. That looks nice. So I'm going to press OK, OK again, and we can exit out of that. And as you can see, this is a similar background to the original image. Now what you want to do, guys, is add your text. Now if you want to add the same font as me, you will need this font called Burbank. I will leave a link to this as well in the description down below. But yeah, go ahead and download that, really easy. If you want to add any other text font, whatever, it's completely up to you, but I think Burbank works really well because it is the original Fortnite font, and you want to make sure this is centered. So in order to do this, you want to press Ctrl R on your keyboard. That will open up the rulers, and now you can literally drag and drop these to the center, and it will sort of lock on once it's in the center. And to enable these, just press Ctrl H, and that's to enable and disable them. And now you can press Ctrl T. You can make sure your text is centered. You can decrease the size of it if you wish. I'm going to keep it around about this and make sure it's centered once again, and press enter on your keyboard, and you can press Ctrl H to close those rulers again. And now we're going to go ahead and add a layer style to this text. Okay, so in order to add a layer style, it's pretty simple. We're only going to do a basic one, but it's definitely going to look really clean. So just double click anywhere on this text layer. That will open up the layer styles page. Now what you want to do is press gradient overlay, and this will actually add a nice gradient onto your text. So you can click on that, you can change the color. The one I've got here is going from a white to a gray. Press OK, and you can also try reversing this to see whether it looks good at the bottom or the top. So you can either have the gray at the bottom, as I said, or at the top. I'm going to leave it like this. And then the next step is to add an inner glow. So go over to inner glow, make sure that your blend mode is set to screen. The opacity can be on 100%, it's completely up to you, and make sure the color is a full white. And if I zoom in here, you can see it adds a nice glow around the gray edges. And if you want to make it more gray, it's completely up to you, as I said, but this is the one I've got. I'm going to decrease it a little bit, press OK. We can also add a little drop shadow to this, so I'm going to add that, decrease the opacity of the drop shadow a little. And this is a really basic layer style, but I think it works really well. A tip I do recommend is to go ahead and hide the layer style, because as you can see, it takes up a lot of space on your layers. So just press this little arrow icon, and that will hide the layer style. Now what you want to do is add the background text. So if I zoom in here, you can see there's the white color, and then there's some text behind it that's blue. So in order to do this, all you have to do is press Ctrl J on your keyboard. That will duplicate that text layer, and now you can actually move this below the original one. So as you can see, we've now got two. So this can be the name one, and then we can rename this to name background text, just so you guys understand. And I'm going to press Ctrl plus zoom in here so we can see it a little easier. And now using the arrows on your keyboard, you can move this text down a little and also to the right a little bit, and it will create this almost 3D text effect. I really do like it. And now what you want to do in order to be able to actually see this, you want to double click on it, go to gradient overlay, select gradient, and you want to make your own gradient color. So I'm going to do a blue one, so let's do from a dark blue to a light blue. That might look really nice, so let's do that. Press OK. And one thing you might want to do is also get rid of the inner glow, or actually decrease it. So let me decrease it. That will make it so we can see the color a little bit better. And we're going to use the cursors just one more time. Now we have that background blue text, which I think works really well as a nice accent color. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is add these lines. They're called action lines. So you want to head over to Google, just type in action lines PNG, and there is a lot. I just selected the second image, which is actually like a royalty-free YouTube thumbnail, and you can just right click that, go to copy image, head back into Photoshop, paste that in. It won't be the right size, so just press Ctrl T and resize that so it does cover the full banner. And once you've done that, you can press enter, and you can also move this up or down. So I'm going to move this around about here. As you can see, there's some lines at the bottom, so whatever you think looks good, you can move it to that sort of position. So I'm going to put it around about here. And now what you want to do is change the blending option of this layer to screen, and that will get rid of the black background for you, and you'll have these nice action lines. Okay, so now what you want to do is change the color of these action lines. So make sure you have that background selected, go down to the bottom, select gradient map, and the first thing you want to do is make sure your gradient map layer is selected. Right click it and go to create clip and mask, and that will make sure that it only edits that image. So now you can click on your gradient map and you want to select the black to white one. You may see is exactly the same as it was before. That's because you have to change the second color, so the white one, to blue or whatever color you've chosen. So I'm going to select, I think that looks nice, maybe make it a bit more darker. Press OK, OK again, and you can exit out of that. Okay, so looking at this, the next thing we need to add is these explosions in the background. So there's one here and there's one also behind the character. So we're gonna go to my Fortnite graphics pack. Make sure you open up the PNGs folder, and the second one from the bottom is a nice little explosion. You can drag and drop that into the banner, and as you can see, it will be a weird sort of orange color. You don't want that because you haven't really got any orange in the banner. So what you want to do, make sure the layer is selected. We'll rename it here to explosion, and you want to open up the gradient map once again, right click it, create clip and mask. As I said before, that will make it so it's only this layer that's being edited. You can click on the gradient map. You want to select the black to white again, and instead of white, make sure it's blue. So I'm going to choose this sort of blue color, press OK, OK again, and we can exit out of that. And what's also good with this explosion is it's a clip and mask layer, so you can actually increase the size and it won't really lose much quality. What I'm going to do here is move it over to the bottom right here. That creates a nice effect. In order to organize this a little bit easier, you want to press Control on the explosion, Control on the gradient map, and just group those together. You can name that once again, and press enter, and now you have those grouped together. And now what you guys can do is press Ctrl J. That will duplicate that layer, and then you will have two of them to work with. It's up to you where you do put this second explosion. I'm going to put it around about here, because I am going to actually add a character here. So let me decrease the size of it, and the character is going to go above this explosion and it's going to be behind him. So I'm going to put it around about here. It's up to you. You may want to put it to the left, to the right, as I said, whatever you want. Okay, so now what you want to do, guys, is go over to the Desire graphics pack, if you do have it, of course, and you want to add the smoke layer over here. So it's the second one from the bottom in the smoke folder. Just enable that, and you can drag and drop it into the banner. And since the smoke is blue, it's going to make everything stand out a whole lot more. So I'm going to press Control minus, zoom out a bit, just so we can resize this a whole lot better. And I'm gonna put it over here. As you can see, if we look out the left side, it's added a nice like blue tint to the banner. And what you want to do is press Ctrl J on this smoke and duplicate it and move it over to the right side as well, so it's on both sides. And if you do notice like a little bit where the smoke is ending, go to your eraser tool and just erase that out, and that will smoothen it a bit more. I'm going to smoothen this side a little bit better as well, and as you can see, it creates a nice smoke effect on both sides. Also, guys, you can go ahead and group the smoke together. If you want to organize your PSDs a bit better than me, then you can do that. Make sure the smoke as well is above the text layer. That will make it so it goes above it and adds a little blue tint to the text as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add is a nice white brush at the top. So in order to do this, you want to go to new layer, make sure this is just below the CCs folders, and just go to your brush tool, make sure the size is, I'm going to say around about 400 will work, and the hardness is on 0%. Then you can change the color to your color picker to plain white and add a nice brush at the top of your banner. Once you've done this, you want to lower down the opacity so it's not as strong. I'm going to say to around about 28%. That looks really nice. Once you have that brush layer selected, you want to go to the adjustments tab once again, go to brightness and contrast, and you want to increase the contrast of this to around about, I'm going to say 37, and as you can see, this will make for a darker banner, and I think it looks really nice. Okay, so now that we've got the colors sorted, we've got the text sorted, we're going to go ahead and add the PNGs. I know this is in a sort of random order, but it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to select where the second explosion is. So this is the explosion 2. Let me also enable that. And we're going to add some PNGs here. So if you want to grab one from the Fortnite graphics pack, you can do so. I'm going to actually add this one here. So just drag and drop that. Whatever one you guys want to use, it's completely up to you, and you can resize them as well. So I'm going to resize it to fit the banner a little bit better, put it around about there. You can tilt it a bit if you want, and make sure as well actually it's above the text layer. That way the character looks more 3D, so you can put it above the text layer, and I think that looks really nice. Once you've added your first character, what you want to do is press Ctrl J on your keyboard. That will duplicate the character, and you can move this layer below it, so now you have 2. And what you want to do is add a motion blur. So in order to do this, first of all, make sure your layer is rasterized. So right click, go to rasterize, and now you want to head over to filter, select blur, go to motion blur, and you want to change the motion blur to, I'm going to say a distance of around about 34. That looks nice. Press OK, and you can actually decrease the opacity of this if you wish. You can also change the color, but I just think that this makes it look a whole lot more realistic. So I'm going to lower down the opacity to around about 70%. That looks nice, and you can press, of course, Ctrl- to zoom out. One other thing I'm going to add is a new layer below the character and also above the text, and go to your brush tool, select a brush size of around about I don't know, maybe 90, maybe actually 80. We'll select 80, and make sure your color picker is selected as black, and you want to just add a little drop shadow below the character, so around about here. Make it so it goes onto the text, and you can lower down the opacity of this if you wish. It just makes it so that the character looks more above the text and it looks like it's got a little shadow on it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add the second character. So we've got one on the right and also one on the left, so head over to Google if you wish, or you can get one from the Fortnite graphics pack. I'm going to actually go to Google, and I'm going to go on the FNBR website that I mentioned before, because there is a lot on here. So I'm going to go to cosmetics, select PNGs, and as you can see there is a lot. So I'm going to actually use the Black Voyager one, which I used before. So right click, open image in new tab, and as you can see it will go ahead and load up like this. Right click it, go to save image as, so you can get the full PNG. Once you guys have saved the file, you can just drag and drop it into Photoshop like so, and you can also change the sizing of it. So I'm going to decrease the size a bit, put it to around about there, press enter, and I'm going to move it up a little bit, make it so it covers the text if you wish. If your PNG is going above the text like I have on the other one, you want to make a new layer. Once again, make sure it's below the character and just add a black brush, lower down the opacity, and that will create the nice drop shadow effect once again. One thing that I'm going to do with the Dark Voyager character is press Ctrl T and actually flip it to horizontal, and as you can see it will look a whole lot better. I've done it in this one as well. It's just because both characters are then facing the text, which works well. Okay, so one thing I added on the banner which works really well was the blue effect on the Dark Voyager character. So in order to do this, it's fairly simple. You want to make sure your character is selected and also fully rasterized, and now what you want to do is press Ctrl J on your keyboard to duplicate it, and now you will have 2 layers. Once this is done, make sure your top layer is selected, head over to the marquee tool. It can be the rectangle one, that works fine, and you just want to select the top part of your character, so around about here. You want to right click that and go to layer via cut, and as you can see here, you will now have that layer separate. So if I press Ctrl T, you can see this is what we have selected. in this brand new layer. Now what you want to do once that is done is you want to press Ctrl U on your keyboard to open up the hue and saturation layer, and you want to mess around with the slider so that the character does appear blue, as you can see like this. Once you've done that, press OK, and as you can see, there is some parts that are blue like here, and there's some parts that aren't. So in order to get rid of these like green parts here, you want to open up your eraser tool, lower down the sizing, and now what you want to do once this layer is selected is just erase parts that are green, and it will then show the layer behind it, which is the original one, which has blue on these parts. So I'm going to just erase off some random parts that do appear green, so around about here, also on the character there, and as you can see now the character is basically fully blue, which works really well in my opinion, and it definitely does match the theme. Okay, the next thing we're going to make is this little banner here above the text where it says subscribe for Fortnite videos. This is really simple. Just head over to the Fortnite graphics pack. It's going to be the bottom layer in the items. You can drag and drop that into the banner, and it may be a little bit big. Make sure that it's above the text, and you can resize that with Control T, hold down Shift, and you can resize it to whatever size you wish. I'm going to keep it around about there. Press Control H once again to open up those rulers you did earlier, and you want to center this. So I'm going to put it there, and you can press enter on your keyboard once that is done. If you want to mess around with the colors of this, press Control U on your keyboard, and you can make this a darker blue if you wish. I'm going to put it around about this, so +11 hue. Press OK, and now you want to add your text to this. So go to your text tool, select anywhere on your screen, make sure you're still on the Burbank font, and you want to make sure the color is selected as a sort of off black color, so like a gray. Press OK, and now you can just type in whatever you want. So I'm going to put subscribe. The font size is way too big, so let's decrease that. There we go. I'm just going to decrease the size of the text one last time. Once you have done that, you want to mess around with the sizing of the text, make sure that it fits there. You can also rotate it a little. I'm going to rotate it like that. Okay, so the next thing we are going to add is some final effects. So we're going to go to the desire pack here, and we're going to add in some particles. So open up the particles folder, and the second layer here has loads of particles. So we want to drag and drop this into the banner here. Make sure this layer goes to, I'm going to say where like the white brushes and where the CCs are. Just make it around about there, and you will add these nice little white particles. You can lower down the opacity of them if you wish. So I'm going to lower them down to around about 89%. Now what you want to do is make a adjustment layer just above the CCs, because we're going to add a curves effect. So go to curves. You want to drag the top slider up. As you can see, once you drag this up, it's going to make the banner a whole lot brighter. And then you want to go to the bottom one here and just pull this down to the right, to whatever you wish. I'm going to put it to around about, I'm going to set it there actually. So the input I've got is 23 and the output is 25 if you want to copy down those settings. Now there's one lighting effect that I'm going to add. So I'm going to go to new layer, and you want to make sure your brush size is set to, I'm going to say around about 200. And you want to change the brush color to the blue that you have been using, and you want to add this sort of brush effect to the characters. So I'm going to put one there, so it goes onto the text as well, and you can add them to random places in the banner if you wish. So you can set one like I don't know, set one there, and also on the other side, whatever you want. And now you want to change the blending option of this to screen, and this adds a really nice effect. You can also go ahead and erase off parts that you don't want if they're covering the character or whatever. It's up to you, but I think this looks really nice. Also maybe lower down the opacity a little to 96% maybe. I think this looks really nice. Now guys, you are basically done. I'm gonna add some final filters though to make it look even better. So what you want to do is group all of your layers together. Once you have done this, press Ctrl J onto the group, then Ctrl E to merge that into a layer, then Ctrl J once again, so you have two banner layers. And on the top one, you want to go to filter, select other, go to high pass, make the radius around about 1 pixels, press OK, and now you want to change the blending mode to overlay, and that will add so much more detail to the banner. After you've done this, you want to select both of the layers, Ctrl E to merge them, Ctrl J once again, so you have two banner layers, go to filter, blur, go to Gaussian blur, make the radius, I'm going to say around about 3.3, press OK, and now using your eraser tool, you can erase off the parts that you don't want blurred. So you obviously don't want the middle blurred, but maybe some of the edges you will want to keep blurred. It's up to you. And yeah, there we go guys, that is the final banner. I think this looks really nice. If you guys did struggle with anything, put it in the comments down below, tweet me on Twitter, I'll help you guys out. I did try and explain everything with as much detail as I could. Anyways guys, that is it. As I said at the start of the video, if you would like to check out any of my graphics packs, which definitely help you making things like this, because I used my Desire pack to add the color corrections, the particles, and I've also got a pack coming out with a fellow designer called Mixo soon, so make sure you stay on the lookout for that on my graphic design store. I will leave a link to it in the description down below. Anyways guys, as I said, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like. It will show me that you guys want to see more videos like this in the future. Anyways, this has been Visual or James, and I'm out. Peace.
Not the same, we're not the same. We're not the same, we're not the same. Not the same, we're not the same. We're not the same, we're not the same. What they call you, that's a different name.